take it off for the night. We rock clouds every time we feel boom, boom, clap, yeah, we got it like that. Kick drum, hit your whole body go crack. Let the baseline move, take it off for the night.
Wow, look, the regular season began December 22nd, just 71 days after the 2020 NBA Finals. I know, we had a shortened season, 72 regular games, and then of course we flipped into what had been no regular season. We had a string of injuries to All-Stars, 31 games postponed due to COVID protocols, and for the first time ever, well actually the first time since 1994, the top two seeded teams on both the East and the West actually failed to qualify for the conference finals. But I say that because I give credit to the NBA. 1,080 scheduled games were still played. Think about that. Think about the journey we've been on. I know, I'm getting emotional because this is our last heat check for this season. And I looked at the 2021 NBA Finals and I looked at where we were all in the studio and we were vibing. And I had a moment to just sit down and think to myself, the Bucks, can you imagine it? The Milwaukee Bucks delivered their first championship in 50 years. That's an incredible way to end a normal, or what's been an unnormal season. Look, I'm not gonna get emotional. I'm not, I promise you I'm not. This is not our time to get emotional. But what I'm going to do is introduce our guests because we've got the whole family here each and every time, yeah? And he's competitive on the court because he represents Detroit to the fullest. I'm going to miss him all summer, but you never know, I might be in LA. So shout out to the three-time NBA champion, the point guard guru, BJ Armstrong. Hey, I see the CEO of Keep the Same Energy, consistent in his preparation, competitiveness, and his love for the game. No regrets in real life or on the timeline. It's none other than the hoop genius, Mo, Mooncey. And he's smooth with his words, he's dominant on the court, and give a punchline or two when it comes to those lines as well. GB's own, yeah? Shining soon in Asia. None other than Ovie Soko. Look, I said it in order, so BJ, Mo, Ovie, how you lot feeling? This is the finale.
Wow, I'm here with the family. I can't believe this is the last show. What an incredible season. But we're going to save the best for the last. So I know we're going to get it today. It's going to be great. I'm going to miss you guys, but we'll be back. The NBA will be back sooner than expected.
Oh, Mo wants to finish up. I'll go second. Guys, man, it's been a heck of a ride. It's been a heck of a ride. A little bit of a bittersweet ending for myself as a Suns fan. However, it has been dope spending the season with you guys, with the HeatCheck family, NBA family. Yeah, man, the season's been an absolute pleasure to cover with the rest of the team, and all of you fans that have joined us on this journey. So, yeah, man, let's get into it today.
Wait, Mo, did you know that Ovie was a Suns fan? Did you know that? Before you
that's breaking news. We need to call Sky Sports News and let them know.
That's mad.
That's breaking story, right?
Right, 1 second, let me get stretch.
Listen, shout out to everybody who's rocking with us this whole season. Shout out to everybody who's been rocking with us this whole season. But more importantly, I love working with the HeatCheck family here. But I want to give a special shout out to everyone behind the scenes that you guys don't see at home. The ones behind the cameras that make all the magic happen, the producers, the directors, everyone else in the crew. Big love to all you guys back there who allow us to do this show and bring this show to you guys, the fans at home, to enjoy the beautiful sport of basketball every week.
And I know it sounds like we're leaving you guys. We're not. We're only leaving you for the summer. There's Olympic basketball to contend with before you blink. We've got the draft and the rest of it. And we're going to dive into all of that because HeatCheck will be back. The whole team will be back. More guests, more fun next year, and even more energy. But let's break down the latest news, gents. Yeah, so straight after the NBA season concluded, we jumped straight into the Olympic basketball cycle. And of course, the headlines are immediately drawn towards the poor start from the US men's team. There's concerns because I saw the concerns in the warm-up games, but now we're talking about the Olympic competition. And after the defeat to France, BJ, it's only right you as the resident American on the call here. You need to explain to me, how's your level of concern after watching Team USA, the men's team, compete right now in the Olympics?
Well, guys, since 1992, we've seen the gap close between the NBA and the players here and the rest of the world. And now we are in 2021, and we can see the gap. Now it's basically even. And you can look at the NBA and the players from abroad, how they fared in the NBA. Let's start off with Giannis. Giannis has won back-to-back MVP this year. Jokic, Defensive Player of the Year, Rudy Gobert. So now what we see is truly a global game. Not that the players are getting worse here in the States. It's the rest of the world has caught up and they're playing the game at the very highest level. So this is phenomenal for the sport of basketball. It's great competition. And here we are now playing truly a global game at the highest level. And it's exciting. So are we concerned? No. The competition is better. Everyone has improved. Guys are playing from all around the world. You know, you see performances like Luka Doncic's 48 points the other day in the opening round of the Olympics. This is fabulous. So we love it. Keep bringing it. Keep bringing that energy. And it's been terrific for the sport and all of us fans all around the world.
Mo, I watched the warm-up games and I thought to myself, okay, look, people are still finding rhythms. It's been a long season. You heard the monologue at the top of this. It's difficult to kind of go into an Olympic team when you haven't had that chemistry, you haven't had that chance to kind of play together, especially what we know Coach K was famous for, getting his teams to play together cycles after cycles. But I watched them throw away that lead against France. I watched KD foul out. I watched the ill-advised shot taking from three. Are you concerned at all of what you're seeing happening to the men's team in the United States right now?
You know what? I am a little bit concerned. I mean, I do understand what BJ's saying in terms of the rest of the world improving, and we definitely do have great talent coming in from all the different countries around the world. Having said that, though, if you look at the France team that they played against, I mean, come on, guys. Nick Batum, Evan Fournier, with all due respect, going up against the likes of Kevin Durant. Let's be realistic here. We talk about the gap has not closed. The Team USA, the talent on paper is still far superior. I mean, we've got guys like Yabusele and Vincent Poirier who couldn't make it in the NBA, playing minutes against this Team USA team and securing a win. So on paper, Team USA shouldn't be using it as an excuse, because I've heard a lot of excuses saying, oh, the rest of the world has caught up, or our players aren't used to these FIBA rules. Well, guess what? These guys played with FIBA rules at the last Olympics and the Olympics before. LeBron and Kobe ain't taking no L. This is on the roster construction of this year's lineup. I don't think they've taken the best. I think they've taken the best individual players who were willing to play at the Olympics, whereas they haven't taken a balanced team. Because the FIBA style of play is different, they haven't got enough big bodies and people who are willing to do the dirty work. They've just had a bunch of guys say, put your hands up if you want to play in the Olympics. All right, cool, we'll take you. That's the way that I'm seeing this roster construction from Team USA. So it does concern me a little bit. Having said that, they do still have, the whole way through the roster, more talent than all the other teams. They're going to have to find a way to figure it out, because if not, this will be the low point for all of the careers of these guys, because you do not want to be remembered as the Team USA who couldn't win gold at the Olympics. That is not what you want your international basketball legacy to be, especially with a history as rich as Team USA in the Olympic basketball tour.
Trust me, that team from 2004 are still living that down at this moment in time. So, Obi, I have to give a balance to it. We're seeing the NBA All-First team this year. You look at Luka Doncic is in it, of course. You see that Giannis Antetokounmpo's in it. Nikola Jokic is in it. So maybe we are being a bit too harsh on the United States team. Maybe the other nations are catching up. Or, as Mo said, is it just making excuses doesn't need to be there?
I think it's a little bit of both. You know, I hear what Mo's saying. However, just being someone who's played the European style or the international style of basketball, and I've spent time playing basketball at the university level in the States, it's two completely different games. You know, any guy who's even played in the NBA that ends up playing in EuroLeague or in the European League, they will tell you, every last one of them will tell you the game is two completely different games. It might not seem that way to fans and from the outside looking in, but, you know, it is a different game. So, you know, I think we do definitely need to give these NBA guys a little bit of leeway. You know, now a lot of these superstars we're looking at, they're younger than these previous teams that we're talking about. You know, I think they had a lot more maturity, but then the NBA is a lot younger these days. I think the superstars are getting younger. So I think it is a little bit of both. I think the rest of the world is catching up. Obviously, the international style of play is a factor. And, you know, these these young NBA players, I don't know if they fully understand what it means to play for Team USA. They've grown up and they've just seen that Team USA is supposed to go to the Olympics and we beat everyone by 30. Yeah, but that's because those guys have made a certain level of commitment. They've played a certain style. And you've even seen in 2004 when all of that talent didn't play the right way and they didn't play, you know, a more collective style of basketball, which the international game thrives off. Well, yeah, you'll struggle, you know, because the international game will use your athletic ability against you if you're not playing the game literally the way the referees call the games. If you're not making basketball plays and the correct basketball play to a purist, the refs won't give you the calls, you know. And it's different in the NBA. It's more so a game where, okay, individually, if I feel like I can make this play, I go for it. It's not that way in the international game, and I think we're seeing that with how close these games are being played with the USA. But yeah, man, I think we can't beat them up too much. You got a lot of young guys in there, but yeah.
Look, the USA face Iran on Wednesday, and of course we know that's an important game for their history. But I just want to give a quick recognition. The reason why I keep specifying the men's team is because the women's team have continued their incredible streak. They're on 50 games right now at the Olympics that they have remained undefeated. Asia Wilson, by the way, is balling out. So if you get some time to sit in and tune in for some real basketball, trust me when I say this to you, the women's team are handling their business at this moment in time. But let's switch gears and touch on a couple of question marks around the superstar in this league, and that's none other than Kawhi Leonard. Ovie, we know Kawhi suffered that injury in Game 4 of the Western Conference Finals against Utah. Look, we already know the required surgery in terms of the timeline has not been put there. But interestingly enough, there's a decision that Kawhi has right now. You step out in the semi-finals of the Western Conference Finals. We understand that you spent that period of time rehabbing by yourself and turned around and saying that you wanted to recalculate your thoughts. But this is a sort of reoccurring thing we've seen with Kawhi. We know his health history hasn't been the best in terms of with franchises. But he has a huge decision to make this offseason in terms of with his future with the Clippers. So what do you expect and how do you see this playing out?
Well, to be fair, especially... I think they've been disappointed, with how well they've done. They've definitely expected more, I think, as an organization. And with his current situation, being that he's injured and he needs surgery, etc., I can't see him wanting to move around too many pieces. He's at home right now. He's at a team that has a lot of pieces and that on paper really should be competing every year as long as they can keep that core together. So I really can't see him moving anywhere. I would be a bit surprised if he does. But the recent NBA has surprised us a lot in many ways. So, yeah.
Mo, free agency begins next week. We know the Clippers have a few things to discuss and to address because right now they're probably preparing in the off-season for Kawhi to come back. So I say it right now, in terms of this negotiation, this conversation, how did the Clippers handle it, knowing how important Kawhi's health is to Kawhi?
What I'm hearing, from the Clippers organization, they're operating as if they're under the assumption Kawhi Leonard is returning. Kawhi Leonard, being the competitor he is of the opinion, having gone down with that ACL, just before the conference finals, that if he was healthy, they more than likely win the NBA championship. That's just how he thinks in his mind, because every competitor thinks that they're the best to do it. And they think if I was out there playing, I would have won. So you can see the logic in it. He's at home. He's got to the place he wanted. You got to think, if he was willing to leave the defending champion Toronto Raptors to come home to the LA Clippers, there's no way in which he wants to leave his hometown team now to go. I hear talks about Miami and I hear talks about Dallas, et cetera, et cetera. But if he was willing to leave a reigning championship team who were prepared to build around him to go to LA, I just don't see the logic in anyone saying that he's going to leave LA. They've got the pieces on the roster now. Paul George seems to have escaped his demons for next year's playoff run. So things are looking good for the LA Clippers. And if Kawhi Leonard did stay healthy, they would have had a great chance of winning the championship this year. So I don't think that they're in a bad spot right now. I think they're going to be confident looking into next year, just focusing on his rehabilitation and getting him healthy back on the court. See if he can play next season. If not, it will be the season after.
And BJ, just very, very quickly, because I know you're a resident down in LA, I need just to quickly understand, in terms of the options that he has, he can opt in and sign, of course, that 4-year deal. 176 million is what we know that he'll be offered around that. Or, of course, he can opt out, get a shorter term deal, and then explore free agency again within a year. We've seen LeBron do those 1+1+1 deals. If you're the advisor in Kawhi's ear, how would you turn around and approach it?
Well, I think now he's approaching the age where health is of a concern. And, we've known since he's left San Antonio that he's had an injury history and missing games because of various reasons. Now, he has this ACL partial tear. I think that's what they're reporting. And at some point here, you have to make a commitment, a long-term commitment here. And because of the issues that has arisen, I think he's going to be a serious concern of what he's going to do moving forward, because there is a possibility, guys, that he may miss the entire season. And I don't know how that will affect him long term and what his body was able to do as we age. As you guys know, Ovie will tell you, it's starting that engine up sometime as you get older is not as easy as it once was. So I think now he's moving into that area where he's got to really take that into concern.
I like the way that he did that. How you say that again, BJ? Starting that engine up is not as easy as it once was.
Yeah, it's not as easy.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah, I'm quoting that. I like that. I like that. Look, finally, we can touch on my favorite part of the year in terms of, because we know that the future and the directions of these franchises are going to be determined over the next couple of weeks. Players' values and destinations are also going to be dictated because free agency begins. Yeah. So I need everybody to just break this down. We know that there's a lot of interest in terms of this free agency class. And BJ, I've kind of looked at it. The position that's probably most sought after in this free agency class is probably the point guard position. You're a resident point guard guru on this show. We saw what happened with Eric Bledsoe less than 24 hours ago in terms of to the Grizzlies. Ben Simmons' trade value is still being determined. Dennis Schroeder wants $100 million, which is being reported right now. Will the Lakers sign on that? And of course, the enigmas of Lonzo Ball, Derrick Rose. There's so many good point guards in this free agency class. So you break it down to me, BJ. Who's the one that we should be watching? Who's the initial domino that's going to knock everything else into place?
Well, I think the initial domino, there's going to be 5 names or so. Actually, I wrote these names down to make sure we got them right. We have Kyle Lowry, like you mentioned. We have Dennis Schroeder. We have Spencer Dinwiddie. We have Derrick Rose. And, of course, we have the restricted free agent, Alonzo Ball. Now, I think Kyle Lowry will be the initial domino that will fall and where he goes, and then it will be a merry-go-round of all of the other players. So we'll see how this kind of figures, how it plays itself out. Dennis Schroeder, we understand here in LA, living out here, whether he'll come back to the Lakers or he'll be in a sign and trade. We have Kyle Lowry, who's an unrestricted free agent. I think he would be very coveted for short-term deals with a lot of teams. Will he get big money? Will he take shorter money to go to potentially a better team or a team he feels that can win a championship? I think the really the wild card in this is the restricted free agency of Alonzo Ball, because I think there are teams who would like him, but you can see that now the Pelicans have cleared space so that they can match any offer that he has out there. So there will be a lot of players. And of course, Derrick Rose there in New York, much talked about, I work with Derrick. So I have a pretty good feel for all this, but I think it will be a merry-go-round of all of those players. And Spencer Dinwiddie, let's not forget him. Even though he missed the season because of an ACL, he's a still very, very highly sought-after player here in free agency. So I think all of those players will move around or possibly stay where they're at, depending on which goes. And I think Kyle Lowry will initiate the first domino.
I love that. BJ thinks that Kyle Lowry is going to be initial domino. Mo, let's go down that vets route, because we're talking about those unrestricted free agents, some of those veteran players that's available. Kyle Lowry, Mike Conley, Chris Paul, DeMar DeRozan, and of course Chris Paul has a player option, we know. So you turn around and tell me, looking at all the mix of all of those senior players and where they want to be in terms of championship contention, who do you see him be the initial domino?
I think BJ was kind of spot on with Kyle Lowry, and I believe that the New Orleans Pelicans are making a significant push to try and sign him in their efforts to make the playoffs next season. They understand that they only have a limited timescale with Zion Williamson on that roster to turn it into a competitive team, especially given the Memphis Grizzlies, who are already looking far more competitive with Ja Morant on their team. So they're going to be going after Kyle Lowry in this free agency period. That's why they cleared the space using that trade. But what's interesting to me is Kyle Lowry's best friend or former best friend. I don't know how that works since he left Toronto, but Mr. DeMar DeRozan, who's come out and said that he's at a point in his career where he's made a lot of money. He's interested in winning a championship. And he's got his eyes looking at both LA teams, both the Lakers and the Clippers, to see which one of those squads he could potentially join to make contributions to a championship run. So that's what I'm interested in looking at. I'm also very interested with the Lakers to see Dennis Schroeder, to see he's turned down 2 offers now from the Lakers front office because he believes he should have a contract worth over $100 million. I don't know after watching him in the playoffs if that's justified, with all due respect, because there's other guys in the league that have come out. Like, we got to talk about all these other vets that have made a name for themselves, like a Reggie Jackson, the way that he balled out in the playoffs. We got to talk about guys like Bobby Portis, who went to the NBA championship and showed that he can make contributions to a team. All of these guys are going to be looking at getting paid too. So we can't just look at, the big name guys. I know they're important, but when you look at championship rosters, oftentimes role players play such a huge part in those teams making a run to the finals, like we saw Bobby Portis and other guys do this season. I'm interested to see where all these players go. I'm so excited, JD. I can't wait for free agency to begin. I can't wait for draft night for all these trades to start happening, because I can promise you one thing. There is never a drama-free day in the NBA. It's going to be chaos.
Best soap opera on earth. I'm telling everybody now, best soap opera on earth. The underlying stories and chemistry is crazy. Yeah, and as much as we've got free agency, which is going to be incredible, the trade block is also going to be watched very, very closely. So, Ovie, I'm going to point you in a kind of a different direction. Bradley Beal is a name that's being talked about a lot. Someone who we've seen his all-NBA performance last year, but could really dictate in terms of where the championship goes for next season. We know at this moment he hasn't demanded a trade, but he's only got 2 years left on that deal with the Wizards. So I'm asking you, Ovie, which team should trade for Bradley Beal, and how do you see that fit happening?
I've seen a couple whispers about the Golden State Warriors, seen a couple whispers about Miami. I really think it depends on how things play out over this next year, because I think, as we saw with my team, the Suns, like, things turned around very, very quickly, it seems like. I feel like over a 2-year period, we went from one of the worst teams in the NBA to being, a team that was competing for spurts throughout a season, and then we ended up just being what seems like one piece away, not necessarily from being consistently a championship contending team, but to be a team that's in the playoff mix, which is the natural next step. So I really want to see how things play out, because also I think it's interesting to really put an exact value on Bradley Beal, because he is one of those players who, a lot of players, I think you could compare him to how Book was doing before we started actually winning any games. Book was a player who would go out there, he'll put up numbers, he'll score, but then you could question, okay, but is he really a winner? Is he going to be a piece that's going to come in and turn things around, or is he just a really good player on a team that's not so great, So I would like to see how things progress. I think the Wizards, they started to pick up some momentum over this last season. And it'll be nice to just see how they build on things over there. I think Westbrook helped him out absolute tons. And being around a guy like that, I think, is also important for a guy like Bradley Beal. I think we have to see how that one plays out a little bit more. And until he's actually asked for a trade, I would assume that he feels like there's something going on over there too.
That's fair enough. That's very true. As I said, Bradley Beal has not demanded a trade at this moment in time, but just the list of some of the players that are available in unrestricted free agency: Tim Hardaway Jr., Spencer Dinwiddie, who BJ alluded to, Andre Drummond, Austin Rivers, who were brilliant in the postseason as well. It's going to be a busy summer, regardless, yeah? So make sure you just keep one eye on the NBA app and everything, of course, across the Sky Sports website. But before then, let's move forward, because this is going to be the last one of the year, yeah? Let's dive into it, hot or not. Two-time MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, NBA champion, and our Finals MVP. That is the resume right now of Giannis Antetokounmpo, 26 years old. Wow, just a little bit scary. What a 4-year stretch it's been for the man. And he's been very vocal in stating the importance of this ring. He says it means a lot more because he built it with the guys that he grew up with, i.e., Chris Middleton. So, They seem to have done this without the fraternity of all these elite players joining up and joining other superstars and creating what we now know as super teams. But it isn't just the importance of his accolades. It isn't just the performance that he's cementing himself as the best player arguably in basketball. It isn't just his attitude in the league. It isn't just the, press conferences that go viral every single time. BJ, I actually think there's something in this. And I think it's fair to say right now, I'm actually agreeing with something you said earlier, but I'm going to take it one step further. I'm actually going to turn around and say this is Giannis Antetokounmpo's league at this moment in time.
You know, guys, I've said this, all year. This is a league full of great players and great talent. And we have great players throughout this league. And you can see, as we talked about earlier, from all around the world, out of all of these great players, has emerged the best player, and his name is Giannis Antetokounmpo. He has emerged as the best player on the defensive end. He's emerged as the best player, the most impactful player that affects winning on the offensive end, and he is a force to be reckoned with. And the thing that I love most about him is that he is still an unfinished product. Believe it or not, guys, he can get better, especially as he begins to extend his range further and further away from the basket. He is a consistent jump shot away from terrorizing this league. He's already doing it now without a jump shot. He's already won a championship without a jump shot at 26 years of age. He has emerged as the best player, the most impactful player the game has today. And there are certainly a number of great players in the league. But right now, he's front and center. This is his league. And he is the one that's ushering in the next generation of great players and how the game is going to look for the next 10 years.
Said with chest. Yeah, full stop after that. Ovie, the domination I saw in the NBA Finals, and I'll be real with you, I was really, really rooting for Chris Paul and the Phoenix Suns to do well and to compete, and they did for the first 2 games. I know right now it doesn't look like it. I know it don't look like it. I just represent my boy, Cash Money Middleton. I just represent my boy, yeah? Charleston, South Carolina's finest. I see you, bro. But look, I loved the domination that I saw from Giannis, because to win 4 straight games in the NBA Finals is a statement in its own. That performance, Ovie, in the postseason, take out not just singling out Game 6, the individual highlights, standout moments that he had in each individual game to make his imprint on that Finals. It was something that I feel like we're going to recognize and appreciate later on down the line. But I'm making a statement for today. This is very much his league now, Ovie.
Yeah, I think that's an easy one to sort of go with. I think, especially if we're looking from a standpoint of domination, he's the best player in the world, 100%. People can come from an angle of the best player being a player that skillfully can do this and can do that, can shoot fadeaways, can do step backs. Okay, fair enough. It's great that some players have this wide arsenal of weapons, but at the end of the day, these are a whole bunch of different, things on a Swiss Army knife. Okay, Giannis just comes to the party with a rocket launcher and shuts it down. It's not as tactical. He can't do the spin fade away off one leg. He can't. But when he comes through, he's clearing everything out. And the fact that he's been able to win an NBA championship that way has shown, okay, well, as long as I can get to that last ring and I can get to that last and take home the silverware with my way of doing things, in my opinion, even what BJ was saying about, okay, he's one jump shot away. Hey, he ain't one jump shot away from dominating because he just put up 50 for game. So everyone can say, yeah, he can add this to his game. Yeah, well, every player can always add something. But if you can find a way to dominate in your way, in which, okay, you don't necessarily need to, be able to do things that the 6'8" guys that probably are 50 pounds lighter than you can do, well, hey, go for it, man. The guy's 7 feet, probably one of the quickest guys and highest leapers on the floor, on any floor he steps onto. Like, man, that block he had from the alley-oop, when I saw that in the studio, I feel like that moment changed the entire series, because that's not a play I believe any other player, maybe one or two, and I'm just saying that because the NBA is full of athletes, but no one comes to my head, can make that play running backwards and to contest, one of the guys that was playing as one of the better centers in the league, shooting 70%. Ayton done his thing. But showed, okay, well, this guy is an absolute freak. Like he lives up to the name. He lives up to the name. He's a dog. He's a beast. So he's definitely the best player in the league. He might not be the most skilled, but really his skill set is enough to put up 50 and get himself a ring. So yeah, man, all hats off to Giannis.
I just let everybody know this is like one of my favorite times during the week because I love Heat Check, but I'll give you a little clue as to what I do. Every single time we do these hot or nots, I kind of circle as to who I think would actually potentially disagree. I genuinely believe that both Ovie and BJ would agree with my statement for this one. I don't know how Mo's going to feel on this. I don't know. But Mo, I'm just going to try. I'm going to try to talk to you in your language. We both got Zoom freaks, yeah? We both see the significance of having a signature shoe as an athlete. We both love what he's doing on the court. We both love the character that's coming out right now off of the court. So you turn around and tell me how this is not Giannis's league, if you disagree.
Jaydee, your statement of this is Giannis's league now, I believe to be incorrect. I believe this has been Giannis's league.
Okay, energy.
This year, MVP and defensive player last year, MVP the year before. We're talking about off court. When did his signature shoe come out? It's been a few years. He was on the cover of 2K19. That's when we knew he was on his grade. The only thing is that US sports media and them man there that talk about Batman and Robin, they're the ones who aren't acknowledging him as the best player in the world. This has been Giannis's league, okay? And now it's just showing up where it matters in crunch time in the playoffs. And that's because of a multitude of factors. He's grown as a player. He's learned to adapt to when defenses swarm him. He's become a much better playmaker. Even though the scoring is impressive, the reason why they won this year in the playoffs is he became a much better facilitator for his teammates, better at reading the opposition. And as you gain experience in this game, the game slows down in front of you, so you make better decisions. But also, they finally got him a good point guard on that team. I'm sorry to say Mr. Eric Bledsoe went out the window. They brought in Drew Holiday, and you saw what happened the one season that Eric Bledsoe got out of the paint there, okay? So, third of all, Mike Budenholzer decided to finally do the things that we were screaming at the TV for the past 3 years, making adjustments and doing what needed to be done as a coach, okay? So now the situations around Giannis are more optimal for him to succeed. He can go out there and win these championships. If those things had changed a little earlier, maybe he could have won last year. Who knows? Do you know what I mean? Who knows? So he's been dominating for like the past 3 years. He just doesn't get the love from the media. I don't know what their agenda is. I know a lot of people in US sports media, they like to talk nicely about certain people because they're hoping to get exclusive interviews with certain people. But here on the Heat Check, I don't care about any of that. I keep it 100% real. I say it how it is. Right now, Giannis Antetokounmpo is the best player in the world. And I believe all the other players in the league know that. That's why you saw the discourse and the dialogue during the finals about other players not showing enough love to Giannis and not showing enough appreciation when guys were coming out saying Chris Middleton should be the finals MVP. And with all due to respect to Chris Middleton, he had a great series. But let's not kid ourselves here. There was only one candidate for finals MVP, and that was the most dominant force we've seen on an NBA court in a number of years. We're seeing his finals performances up there with the final performances all time. It's up there with the great performances of Shaquille O'Neal. It's up there with the great performances of LeBron James. It's up there with the great performances we've seen throughout history. And I believe when we go forward in time, we're going to look back on this year, that 50-piece, averaging, 35.2 points for the whole series? That's something special. So the rest of the league is on notice now because the Milwaukee Bucks, not only is Giannis the best player, but they finally got it together in terms of a point guard to go with him, in terms of the coaches finally making adjustments. And now the league is worried.
Knocked out the park. That's 3-3. Hey, look, where there's winners, there's also losers. And I'm not going to turn around and talk about any NBA finals discussing the Phoenix. I know, but I'm actually not going to banner over you. Look, the top did enough as it was. Phoenix, I think you could be extremely proud of yourselves. But I actually want to switch the focus a little bit. I actually want to discuss going forward what does the direction of the Suns look like going forward? Because we all know, as we've discussed already, Chris Paul has that player option and he's going to decide his future, whether it lives with the Suns or elsewhere. We all know it's a sensitive subject right now, Ovie. The wounds are still raw, but I need you to understand something. Phoenix had a great run. It was incredible. What I love from Monty Williams, we've seen the character of Monty Williams. Those that's been around the NBA circle have understood this, but now the world can see how great he's been. We understood who Devin Booker is, DeAndre Ayton, the direction that those young players are going in. But the West is kind of deep, bro. Like, the Lakers, the Clippers, and Denver were all affected by injury this postseason. Portland, Utah, and Dallas will be back again. So, Ovie, I know it's going to hurt your feelings, and I promise you, bro, I don't mean it. But I do mean it. I feel like Phoenix won't get a better opportunity to win the title again in the near future.
I think in the near future, I would agree with that. It'll be very tough. And I say that because obviously there was a lot of different factors that went on this year. I still feel like they should be absolutely 100% proud of themselves. I'm 100% proud of them as a team and as an organization. However, I do think for especially those young guys and guys that are as competitive like Book, if Phoenix aren't able to sort of run this back, or at least make some sort of a run in the near future, I think it'll be hard to keep this team together. You know, I think if this team stays together, 100%, I think we could get back there. But I think that will be very, very difficult. All these guys now have had a taste of the finals, and I think once you've had that adrenaline rush of playing in the last game of the season, like there's probably no feeling like it in basketball. I can remember when I played in the Final Four in the European competition, and it was unreal, absolutely incredible. So I can only imagine what it must felt like to have played in the NBA championship. So with that being said, I'm not sure if we'll be able to run it back in the near future. And obviously, I think that could have consequences on the team we're able to keep together.
That almost felt like a eulogy. That was okay. That wasn't too bad, in fairness. I didn't think it was going to be that bad, but things could get a little bit worse right now because I'm going to go to Mo and I'm going to ask Mo, look, they were this close. They were this close to winning their first NBA title. And I know, and I'm telling you now, as an Orlando Magic fan, I know I'm wearing a Bucks jersey, but as a Magic fan, I haven't seen my team in the NBA Finals for the decade plus. It's difficult to get there. It's difficult to build it, and it's difficult to go back there again once you've been there before. So I'm going to turn around and say to you now, Mo, do you believe that Phoenix window is done in terms of the opportunities they have to get back to an NBA Finals?
I don't believe that this team, as currently constructed, can continue to exist, let alone get back to an NBA Finals. Chris Paul, he can step out of that player option. I heard that he's looking for $100 million over 3 years. He's looking for more long-term security potentially. He can opt in and take that $44 million, but then you got to think about it like this, right? When a young team, obviously aside from Chris Paul, when a young team makes it to the NBA Finals, everyone thinks, oh, the future's bright. Oh, they're going to be back here. All right, don't worry. Well, that's what the OKC Thunder were thinking in 2012 after they got to the finals and lost. But guess what, guys? This is the NBA. There's a salary cap. And once you've been to the finals and everyone's played a great role in getting there, all of these guys need to get paid. DeAndre Ayton's going to be looking at a max extension. Mikal Bridges is going to be looking at getting paid. Jay Crowder's only got, I think, 1 or 2 years left on his deal, and he's been an integral role. Campaign, his contract's up now. He can go out and get paid. So it's going to be difficult to keep this team together. Also, guys like Cam Johnson have impressed a lot of organizations around the NBA with his performance, the way he shot the basketball, and, of course, that dunk over PJ Tucker. But let's not talk about that. Let's talk about the Phoenix Suns and how they got to the NBA Finals. Round 1, the LA Lakers injured. Round 2, the Denver Nuggets injured. Round 3, the LA Clippers injured. And then when they did come up against a healthy team, they lost. So we're talking about them getting back to the finals. Are you telling me they still get to the finals if LeBron James and Anthony Davis are healthy, or if Jamal Murray and the Denver Nuggets are looking like the team they did during the season before Jamal Murray went down, when they looked like they could go out and win an NBA championship, as BJ sat here on this show and said he thought the Nuggets would take on the title? And if you think Kawhi Leonard couldn't do what Giannis Antetokounmpo could do if he was healthy and take over that series and control the game? And also, we've got to factor in, what I got to say to you right now, JD, is astaghfirullah. We were all sitting here calling Chris Paul the point guard. If you're a guard, you don't choke. If you're a guard, you don't turn the ball over.
I
If
knew
you're
he was
a
gonna
guard,
do this.
what does that make Drew Holiday? If you're a guard, what's Drew Holiday to you then? If Drew Holiday's making you his son in the NBA Finals, pressuring you into giving up the ball and turning it over and throwing away a 2-0 lead, that's right. The point guard that everyone wants to call him lost 4 straight games. I just had to get that one off my chest for you guys. So I don't believe this Phoenix Suns team is going to be back winning a championship. Of course, in the future, because having a young core of DeAndre Ayton and Devin Booker is a recipe for success. I have no doubt. But this team, in terms of this current roster, is going to be very difficult to keep together and very difficult to win a championship with. But will we see Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton as a dynamic duo that has the opportunity to make the NBA Finals again? I do believe so. I believe that pairing of a guard and a dominant big man is a recipe for success in this league, but it might be a number of years before they get back there.
Oh, Ovie, I was just kind of leaving that window open just in case you wanted to say anything.
I don't have anything to say. His team, his team was nowhere to be found. We weren't expected to be there. His team.
I know you ain't doing a victory lap about losing the finals. I know you ain't doing a victory lap about losing.
DJ, what have I done? DJ, what have I done? DJ, what have I done?
I'll let you finish. My whole thing is, look, hey, we got to the finals. I'm proud of my guys, man. I'm 100% proud of my guys.
Enjoy
I ain't
the
got a bad thing to say
medal.
about them. No, hey, I will. It's easy to talk when you're a
Participation trophy
Boston
for
fan.
you.
It's easy
Participation
to talk
trophy
when you're
for
a Boston
you.
fan.
Well done for coming second, guys. Well done for losing.
My thing
I'm
is,
proud of you guys
but you talk as if there's not factors every single year in the playoffs. There's different elements that every single NBA championship team has had to come up against. Do you know what I'm saying? So this year, okay, you're saying injuries. Okay, so were there no injuries any other year? Every other year, everything was perfect, and whoever won it had to battle. Like, no, that's never the case. This is the NBA. This is what happens. 1 year Kevin Durant got injured. 1 year Kyrie Irving got injured. 1 year Kawhi Leonard got injured. So with that being said, it looks like your whole theory of, they came up against a healthy team. Bro, there's a lot of teams who have come up against a team that might be missing one guy or two. But you know what? This is why I take my hat off to Giannis, and no one can say a damn thing to him, because regardless of what anyone can say, he got it done. Because if it's the way you're saying it, then why didn't another team do it then? Why didn't another team just go all the way to the NBA championship? If it was just easy to beat all of these teams that are injured, why didn't another team do it? Well, because there's obviously a little bit. No, wait, let me finish. There's obviously a little bit more to it. It's not as easy as you're making out. Clearly, it's the NBA championships, bro. You don't get to the NBA championships unless you've got something to you as a team. It's not just injuries. You know what I'm saying? These teams, they have other really good players. They're all NBA players. Even though you might like to talk about them like, these role guys. I know a little bit better just because I'm a basketball player. But every last one of these guys on every NBA roster, they can hoop very, very well. You know what I'm saying? Not everyone's Anthony Davis, granted. Obviously, that's a big loss to lose certain guys. However, that's why it's a team game. It's not boxing. It's not tennis. It's not singles. There's 5 people on the court at all times. So all of this talk you're giving me is, I don't know, it's not from a educated basketball purist standpoint, and it's entertaining, but it doesn't make sense, bro. There's more than 1 or 2 players on the team. Do you see what I'm saying?
I'm just going to take a seat back.
The difference is there is injuries every season, right? So if we go back and we look at the Warriors' run to the finals, the first time they went, they came up against every team who had an injury on their team, but you still turned around and said they're going to be back next year because they're still the most dominant team in basketball. That's the difference. Every team goes against injuries, but there's levels to this game. There's levels. No,
100%, 100%.
Between being the most dominant team and other teams having injuries, and being the beneficiary
they dominated all season.
to every single team you come up against having their best or second best player injured.
They dominated all season. All of these teams that you're talking about, I guarantee you they got at least one game.
Let me ask you this. Do you believe they're going to be back in the finals next year? Or are you just arguing for the sake of arguing to try and make yourself sound because it's just their waffle coming from your mouth?
I already answered that question.
Because you know that they ain't coming back next year.
No,
I know
one
they
person
ain't
that-
coming back next year.
One person that hasn't
Boston
answered that
won't be
question.
there. Boston probably
One
won't be
person
there.
that hasn't answered that question.
So what are you talking about? So calm down.
One person who hasn't
National
answered
TV
that
is
question
losing
yet. Wait, one person who hasn't answered the question yet is BJ Armstrong. Now, you are a resident 3-time champion on this show. Yeah, you know how difficult it is to get to an NBA Finals. So you turn man and tell me, you looking at the way that Phoenix are constructed, I personally think that championship window was this season only. You tell me, but how do you feel?
Well, at the beginning of the season, outside of my good friend Ovie here, I didn't see not a lot of people, experts, myself included, saying the Phoenix Suns were going to get to the finals this year. Okay. Now, the Suns faithful believed that this team could, and I wasn't sure. The impact of what they were able to do, let's just take it step by step. You know, we can't forget, this team didn't even make the playoffs in the bubble. They suddenly trade for what appeared to be an aging point guard. They put this group together and then they make a run. Now, give them credit. You know, this was going to be a team that was going to be a tough out because I believe it was Ovie who alluded to it. They were playing well, not only at home, which is the first indication that you can win your home games, but they were playing exceptionally well on the road, which caught everyone's attention. And they were consistent in doing that. I don't care who was there, who's not. When you start playing and winning games on the road, now you have everyone's attention. Their young players, in particular, DeAndre Ayton, began to play the game at an elite level, especially on the defensive end. He was really the anchor for this team in the way that like a Rudy Gobert would be an anchor. And then Devin Booker was being Devin Booker, and Chris Paul found his rhythm during the course of the season. So this team has the recipe. Now, the big question is, what's Chris Paul's window to continue playing the game at this elite level? Because you can see that he wore down at the end of the season. When the game got ramped up, especially in the NBA Finals, you began to see Chris Paul wear down a little bit. I truly believe that they have not one, but two foundation pieces in Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton. I know without question, DeAndre Ayton will suddenly now go from being the third option. He will move into what I would say the 1A or 1B. He will be featured. He will have to be featured on the offensive end if this team is going to continue to play at this level. And then they're going to have to fill in the spot. So I think the big question is, we're talking about the players on the floor, but the main question for them is roster construction, because they have some really good role players and they have to make a big decision. What are they going to do with Chris Paul? Are they going to pay him this 2-3 year contract? Or are they going to say, Chris, we will only do 1 or 2 years because we're going to have to play a different style. And we know DeAndre Ayton's going to come up and probably demand the max. We know Devin Booker is already at a max, Mikal Bridges and all of these other guys. So roster construction is going to be the number one priority for this organization moving forward, because they're going to have to replace Chris Paul either next year or the year following, and have a player in place that can move in if they're going to continue to play at this elite level. They have elite level players without question, but I think replacing Chris Paul is going to be a difficult one, because they're going to have to look at Chris Paul and say, Chris, we value what you did this year, but we don't know how much longer you can do it. And that's always tough to say to a player who performed. Chris Paul performed. I don't care what anyone says. He performed. He got him there. And you know what? Drew Holiday and company, they were better, without question. It wasn't like Chris Paul lost the finals. That team over there, the Milwaukee Bucks, who my man Jaydee is wearing, they were just a better team. And they 100%. Played better. Giannis was, without question, the best player on the floor. So I think those are big questions for this organization. I love what they've done. They put themselves in the category. We know we know the stage isn't too big for them. And that's what I love most. Those young players, Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton, that was their first time in the playoffs, and those young men responded when the lights were the brightest. So I have no problem with them. But now they're going to have to figure out how to repeat and do it again, and that's always difficult.
However,
Man.
let me stop you. I would say I can say
Go on.
confidently that I feel like we'll be a consistent playoff team in the West, which I think is definitely a big deal. Obviously, I think the East is improving as of late, but I feel like we can be a consistent playoff team in the West. And I say that's more to do with the culture shift that's happened over there. I think when you talk about getting to the finals and conference finals, it's a little bit more, you know what I'm saying? Like, now you have to have certain caliber guys, but the culture of the organization, I feel like is moving in a direction that you can say, okay, this is going to be a team that's consistently in the Western Conference Finals, which I think is a really, really dope step. They're ahead of schedule, man.
The Phoenix Suns fans are happy, spoken by Ovie himself. So I look at it this way, the past is the past, that's cemented in history already. But one thing we can look forward to is the future. And the 2021 NBA draft is set for Thursday, July 29th. I know it's around the corner. I just feel like we blinked and it was the NBA Finals, but we're ready to induct the new top prospects into the league and see the impact they're going to make. So let's catch up on them now, man. To quote my boy Drake, draft day, Johnny Manziel, 5 years later, how am I the man still? Draft day, A. Wiggins. I can't say the rest of the bar. I can't say the rest of the bar. Because you know what time it is. But it's going to be an exciting night. One of the most anticipated events in the NBA calendar, because we induct, of course, the new draft stars that are going to be lighting us up for the next, hopefully, 2 decades. And we caught up with the projected first overall pick, Cade Cunningham, about his draft process headed into the biggest night of his life. Cade Cunningham, look, projected number 1 pick in the 2021 NBA draft. First things first, bro, I think I should just ask you, how's the pre-draft preparation going, man? What does that look like right now?
It's been good. Trying to, fine-tune my game, trying to get to the highest point I can get to. I'm feeling good, and I'm excited for the league, for sure.
How does it feel in terms of this process here? I mean, this is a lifetime journey for you. Everything that you're kind of putting your body through and your mind through right now, you've been setting yourself for your whole life, pretty much. But now you're entering the final phase. How does it actually feel?
It's surreal, for sure. I think that's the best word to use is, it's a crazy feeling. It's something that, like you said, something I've been dreaming of, and to finally, be able to see it in person almost feels like deja vu-ish, like just a weird feeling, but it's something that, like I said, I've been trying to prepare for and try to get ready for my whole life. So now that I'm here, I'm gonna just try to, make the most of the situation, make the most of the position that I'm in and strive with it.
I want to talk to you about that OSU sort of experience, because it was, your college experience is different anyway. I went to college in America. I went to college in Arizona. So I get it. But you didn't get the full experience, as they turn around and say, because the fans limited and sort of the campus living. So how do you reflect on your college experience now?
It was definitely different just because of COVID and everything, like, not being able to have full arenas and things like that was definitely weird. That's what I look forward to whenever I'm hooping is, playing in front of as much people as I can. But, just the whole overall college experience, not being able to go in classrooms and meet other classmates, like previous years, things like that was definitely different. But definitely helped me, lock into the sport that I had went there for to play and, help me get my mind right on the next journey, next step. So, there was a lot of good with the bad. So it was, it was all good.
I hear that. I hear that. Cade, there's no two ways about it. You're a great player. And this is where you're going to be able to bring me into your mentality, because you're in the 0.01% of players that's about to make that final transition. So when do you start in your game, stop comparing yourself to your peers and start looking at the LeBrons, the Lucas, the Dames, the Stephs, etc.? At what point did you say in your own mentality that you wanted to obtain that level and compete with those players?
Yeah, that's something I did whenever I was younger. And I feel like, that's what separated me from an early age was the fact that I was looking at the LeBrons, KDs, Steph Currys and stuff, trying to figure out how I could be on the same court as them and maybe be better than them, compete with them from a young age. I was trying to see, like, could I step on that floor right now and be effective? So I feel like having that mindset early on, I wasn't really too worried about other 2020 prospects and things like that, just because I knew that the goal was much greater than, you know, high school basketball and things in college. So having that mindset, I feel like it only helped me going into where I'm going right now, going into the league. I feel like now I'm mentally prepared to, you know, actually line up against these guys and not, you know, be nervous or anything, be confident about who I am and be confident about my game.
I need to know one thing about you. Draft day, are you ready for that moment, you know what I mean, that you've been working towards and the commissioner says your name, as we're saying, is projected overall number 1? And secondly, is that drip ready? That's what I need to know. Is that suit and that drip ready?
Come on, fam. First of all, you know I ain't stepping into the number 1 pick if I ain't gonna be clean. You know what I'm saying? Like those pictures are forever, so I can't come in there look crazy. If I come in there look crazy, y'all fully got the green light to rip me, man. Y'all got the green light. Y'all can have it. I'm not even tripping.
Arlington, Texas is proud, no doubt, King. Yeah. Salute to yourself.
Yeah, sir. You already know.
Yeah, salute to yourself. And I need this on record. Anytime you in London, Cade, you hit me up, bro. I got you, no doubt.
That JD, we going up in London, bro. I got to.
Pleasure.
Man.
All right, look, great dude, even better hooper. So look, I love the energy, and I turned around and said it already, man. He's going to be an incredible prospect. But we're going to dive into his case study because here on the Heat Check, we don't hold no punches. We don't hold back at all. So we're going to break him down on the rest of his draft class like we do everybody else. And BJ, I need to understand from you first, because you were first hand on the ground. You've seen these gentlemen. You've seen the preparations they put in. You understand the work in terms of getting to this stage. So looking at the transition right now, understand the mentality of Cade and looking at his body of work, how NBA ready is he?
You know, speaking about Cade and this entire draft class, you know, and speaking to NBA executives and people that's been in the NBA for many years, everyone's really excited in the NBA about the upcoming draft. Not only those top 4 or 5 players in particular, we're talking about Cade, but throughout this entire draft, they say this is a very deep draft and they expect these players to contribute. Now, to what level, to what degree, you know, that will vary depending on who you speak with. Cade is an exceptional basketball player. If there's one knock against his game, and let's start there, is that he is not the elite level athlete that we are accustomed to seeing that will be considered with the number 1 pick. You know, he's not a LeBron James type of athlete. He's not a Giannis type of athlete or a unique athlete like a Kevin Durant. But when you take all things considering, he's very skilled. He has great size. He can shoot the basketball, and he will fill the stat sheet. And that's what NBA executives love about him. You know, there's a player here that they're saying that he resembles in the NBA, and his name is Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic isn't the elite athlete, but his productivity, his basketball IQ, and all of the things he brings, that's what they're comparing this kid Cade to. He's a very skilled basketball player, guys. I don't know if he's a 1, 2, or 3, but he will certainly be a player that will get you 20 points, 8 assists, 7 to 8 rebounds, and he can do it all. He has a little post game. So I think he's going to be a very impactful player, and people are very, very high on him. And I think he has a chance to be an elite level. How high? You know, we don't know. We don't know what they're going to ascend to, but I would say this. He's going to be a player that's going to really impact the bottom line to whatever team drafts him because they're going to get a good one.
Mo, a lot of people have been talking about this draft class. I would say for the better part of 2 years, we've been hearing about this draft class of players coming in, whether they've come from the G League, whether they've come from abroad, or whether they've come from the college route. I like anticipating or like waiting for something that, you know, I mean, a lot of people are building up. But we know the headline is that there's a top 4 projected prospects within this. Cade Cunningham, Jalen Suggs, Evan Mobley, and of course, Jalen Green. But do you feel like this class is a little bit deeper than people are giving recognition for? And do you have any sleepers yourself?
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. I think this is an excellent draft class. I just want to touch real quick on Cade Cunningham. I know BJ ain't going to say it, but he's a Detroit boy, and Detroit have that number 1 pick. So I know they're very excited down there.
Smiling.
And I hear the comparison I have.
Weaver, do the right thing.
Is maybe he's going to be like the second coming of Grant Hill. Now, I know he isn't going to have the athleticism for all those powerful dunks that a young Grant Hill had, but the last time Detroit had a player with a signature shoe was Grant Hill with those feelers, and I just got the message 2 minutes ago saying that Cade inked his deal with Nike. So it's a big-time talent. If they take him with the number 1 pick, it's going to be exciting for all those fans down there. But if we're looking at this draft, there's guys up there at the top. Mobley, Suggs, Green, in other years, those guys could very well be the number one pick as well. They're extremely talented players. But if we're going to talk about sleepers, JD, you know I got to show my love to the European talents coming into this draft. Last year, I broke down some of the European players for you guys, so I'm going to give you a little intel right now. The two names for me to watch, number one, Usman Garuba, coming out of Real Madrid. If you guys watched the game between the USA and Spain
Savage.
recently,
He's
this young man was tasked with guarding Kevin Durant at the age of 18. He's guarding Kevin Durant. Offensively, he might not be there, but defense wins championships in this league. And if you can acquire a player who can have that impact on the defensive end, grab those rebounds and push the ball in transition, that's a recipe for success. The other name I need you guys to watch out for is Alperen Şengün, coming out of the Turkish league. He was the MVP of the Turkish league. This man has the most beautiful footwork on the low block. That he's got a bag full of post moves that certain big men who have got max contracts in the NBA wish they had. He's got the footwork. He's expanding his range. He's adding a little jump shot to his bag too. That's right. You guys know we didn't pack no punches. We don't pack no punches on this show. I'm just calling it how it is. But this guy, those skills though, the fundamental skills of basketball that he's been practicing in Europe, those fundamental skills transfer over to the NBA as well. We saw how well Luka Doncic transitioned. I'm no way comparing this kid to Luka Doncic. What I mean is the core principle of when you master those fundamental skills in the European league, you know, in the Olympics, they were talking about the FIBA rules being harder. When you come to the NBA and you've got those skills in your bag and you can get away with more and the referee's going to give you more free throws, referee's going to call more fouls on you. I believe this kid has the chance to come out and be an all-star on the level, or if not the higher level, of Domantas Sabonis. So he's projected to go kind of later on in the lottery or even later in the first round. So I believe whichever team picks him, they're in for a treat as well.
Love it. And you, trust me, Mo, I'm looking forward to your draft special. I know that's going to come out and be something hot, as always.
Tonight, Jay.
Hey, Ovie, I saw you smiling at a couple of European names, even agreeing there with Mo. But I need you to just assess it. Look at the overall 2021 draft class that's entering the league at this moment in time. Cade projected to go first overall. But how happy are you to see this new crop coming in? And who are your sleepers or the players that you want to watch for?
I think it's going to be exciting. I think the top four you really, really can't lose. It just depends on what the teams need. I think they're all that sort of caliber of player. I think Green is really interesting to me. That's who I would probably put as, you know, if I had a number one pick. But however, again, I don't think any of the top four, top five picks are going to lose. I think it's a bit much to compare Cade to Doncic. Completely miles away, not even close. And I say that because I think we need to appreciate Luka Doncic mentally was playing on a level higher than guys that were all conference players, NBA players, and he was dominating. So none of these guys are a Luka Doncic. Let's axe that. let's completely axe that. No. It's real talk, because at the end of the day, he's a terrific player with a lot of talent, a lot of ability. He's been playing in college. You know, Luka Doncic at 18, 17, so on and so forth. From 14, he was playing against grown men that were all conference level guys that had bounced back and forth from the NBA. He was teammates with Nocioni, with Sergio Yul. With, you know, I can run off the names, but yeah. So there's no one that's on the Luka Doncic kind of level. However, with that being said, I think these guys are going to be able to come in and definitely make an impact earlier. You know, so yeah. And Usman, absolute savage, absolute beast. Been watching this kid since he was probably 15 years old, and he. Again, physically, he was very advanced for his age. His motor is absolutely incredible. He's a guy that can guard 1 through 5. Offensively, he's not a guy that you'll go to, but he's going to rebound the crap out of the ball. He's a perfect new age big for the game, you know, to allow guards to have the freedom to play, to get up and down, to shoot. And he's going to go for every rebound, be a great teammate. Putbacks, he'll knock down, you know, an open shot. He still has ways to go as far as, you know, his skill set. However, shooting is one of the things I think improves very rapidly as far as once you get into the NBA, because it's sort of a must in the game we play today. But this draft class is very, very, very exciting.
And trust me, you can get a heat check scouting report as you follow the email. Shout out to our guy Joe. Joe will take a 10% for anybody that's watching here for future years, because that breakdown, that information, those gems aren't free. We're just giving you those because we feel like giving you those now. But future years, we're available. We're just letting you know. Yeah, we're available.
I gotta say one thing. You know, before BJ and the people in Detroit celebrate too early, I did just hear that OKC offered Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and the sixth pick in this year's NBA draft to Detroit for that number 1 selection. Detroit said no, but teams are going to be aggressively making offers for that number 1 pick because everybody wants some Cade Cunningham in this year's draft.
Everybody wants a bit of Cade. Another person that everybody's kind of looking at as well is Jalen Suggs. I actually like a tweet that we saw this week as well by my boy Ethan. Yeah, so shout out to Ethan, first of all, because he actually thinks that Jalen's going to be the star of this draft class. Now, BJ, I'm going to come back to you again because, like I said, it's a projected top 4, and Mo alluded to it. So any one of those top 4 could have been a number 1 overall pick in another draft class. Jalen might still go number 1 overall at this moment in time. We don't know. But how do you feel about this tweet from Ethan very, very quickly?
You know, we're so quick to throw out this term star. Everyone's a star. Everyone's the best player. You know, everyone's the number 1 player. You know, to be the number 1 player comes with a lot of responsibility. I think these players are very good players. Do I think they have the mentality as a number 1 player? Well, I'm not sure I agree with that take, and I'm not sure what everyone considers a star. But what I will say about Jalen Suggs is this. Out of all of those players that we just discussed, whether it's Suggs, you know, Jalen Green, Cade Cunningham, and the big kid, Mobley, this kid, Suggs, has 2 intangibles that I respect to the utmost. One, he has leadership capability. He was a football player here in high school, and he was an elite football player, a quarterback. This young man has elite leadership and toughness that he brings to the floor. And I will say this about him, out of all of the players that I've seen thus far, you know, I always try to evaluate how quickly these young men will become pros. When you meet Jalen Suggs, he's a pro already. Whoever he's supposed to be in the NBA, he will impact winning, and he will be the best version of himself on day 1. And I will say that. He has a terrific point guard body, size, quickness, athletic ability. And whoever gets him, they're going to have an elite player because he is going to win games. And he's going to be the best version of himself on day 1. And that's what you see with him. And I've had a chance to watch him work out in the gym. He can rally the troops. He is going to be an exceptional, I think, guard for many years to come. Now, whether he's a star, I have no idea. That's a big responsibility. But he's going to be the best version of himself without question.
Oh, I got goosebumps. I'm ready. So talking of new starts, we bring you the draft here live on Sky Sports, and I cannot wait. 2021 NBA draft set for July 29th, which is going to be incredible. Trust me when I say this to you, all the suits are going to be in the building. New York's showing up, finest, yeah, live here. 12:30, Sky Sports Arena, Sky Sports main event. Make sure you're there because it's time we take in really the top prospects from this year who are ready to make an impact at the next level. And of course, I have to shout out to my boy in the paint. You know, it's going to be a reaction from Mo Mooncey. Yeah, you know full well he's going to turn around and tell you how he feels about every single one of them picks. Yeah, and he's no doubt about it. He's going to give you his favorite moments from this season as well. Available on Snapchat. You know where to find it. Gents, I know. It's been emotional. Can we just deep as well? Can I just say something to all of you lot? Yeah, I'm gonna go around very quickly. I'm gonna start with Ovie, go around to BJ, and go around to Mo. And it'll be very quick, and no one gets a chance to respond. Yeah, but can I just say something? We've done this whole show this year virtually, and the energy that all of you gentlemen have this year has been second to none. Yeah. Then I say sometimes I feel like I'm in the room with you, like it's crazy. And I know you think about it, but it's been sensational. Yeah. And I just want to say I'm proud of each and every one of you. That's been my favorite moment of this year. Just the energy you guys bring every single week. So Ovie, what's been your favorite moment? Quickly, because we are already over, but we're gonna give the people a little bit extra.
Hard up. Never disappoints. You know, so much energy. You know, the different opinions. Like, you know, I have my way of thinking, but I think it's so dope. Interesting to get these guys' insights. Yeah, man. So I always love that segment.
BJ, hit me.
My favorite take is how you stir the pot with these two. I love this. He said, you stir the pot. JD, I'm not letting you on the hook. JD is always like, me. What's going on? JD, you know what? This is my favorite. Could you do this? And you're so clever with doing it. You know, you do this, and these two, they go after it, and I get a chance, and I love it. I love you guys. It's great. You know, you guys let the old man come on and talk to you guys, so it's fabulous, and I really look forward to it every week. This has been terrific.
Hey, for real, BJ, we love you, bro. Mo Mooncey, give you a chance to close this one out. Show me, what's your favorite moment this year, bro?
Man, you guys, you know I love working with you guys, and you guys also know the features that we produce with Ellis, Dave, Darren, who are a great team behind the scenes making those features. But my favorite part of this show is the amount of fans that reach out to me on Twitter or even stop me on the street and say they've become basketball fans because of us guys covering it on Sky Sports Live for them. They didn't know anything about basketball last year or the year before, but because they lock into the Heat Check and they lock into our live shows, they're now addicted to the NBA just like all four of us are. So the fans at home, that's who we do this for, trying to grow the game over here in the UK, put a spotlight on the NBA over here in the UK. So I just love the fact that we've had a small part to play in the growth of this game and the personal journeys for all of these fans at home who have got into it, who also love tuning in and watching Jaydee stirring it up between me and Ovie and BJ laughing in the background, you know. Because I know if we were in school, me and Ovie would be getting kicked out of the lesson and Jaydee would be sitting there. You
don't even know those guys.
He's sitting on the front row in the class.
I know there's a whole bunch of my bridges right now that I definitely like, that's 100% Jaydee. Like I said, this has been the Heat Check for 2020 to 2021. We appreciate you all for tuning in every week. The energy has been lit, and we expect the same next year. In fact, it's going to be bigger and better. Peace.
Sky Sports. Feel it all.